Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to react to a video called It's Not Our Way. Norway PM warns Middle East conflict impacting Europe. This is really cool. This is a great video done by, there's a Prime Minister of Canada and there's a bunch of Nordic nations. And it says Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store said Nordic countries did not initiate the escalating Middle East conflict, but are increasingly feeling its global impact. Speaking during a Nordic Canadian summit in Oslo, really cool Nordic Canadian summit, awesome. Store stressed that while countries in Northern Europe are not directly involved in the fighting, the war is affecting economies, security, and global stability. So let's take a look at what these different prime ministers and presidents and so on have to say. Really, really interesting. Let's take a look.
Dear Mark, it's great to have you among us, the Nordic leaders. And I have to say to you that you have a lot of supporters in our countries. The speech you gave in Davos, I have never experienced anything like this. I mean, people in Denmark, and I guess the same goes for the rest of the Nordic countries.
Where the speech in Davos is concerned, it was really a pivotal moment. I think this, historians are going to talk about that moment. Mark Carney came out and said it as it is, I think, in my humble opinion. And I think it enabled European countries to say, oh, you know what? We can speak up and we can say this is acceptable or this is not acceptable to us. So I think the tone was set by Mark Carney. Like him or don't like him, it doesn't matter. I think as the world needs to step up and push back on bullies. Okay, here we go. Sorry.
Have been talking about, they have been reading your speech. And I don't think I have ever heard so many reflections on a speech from a colleague as I have heard about your speech in Davos. And it is because you show leadership. You were talking about how democracies can work together and that we have to connect even closer in this world where the old world order is gone and it will probably not come back. So we have to build something new. And it has to be a world order that is built on the values that we represent, the leaders standing in front of you today. I am very grateful. I have to say that.
I think that, Canada is a lot like America in certain respects, but we share a lot of values with our European family. I think especially the Nordic European family. We have values that are, we want to pull our weight. We want to help our neighbor, though. We believe in compassion. We believe in healthcare as a right. We believe, and so on and so on. Just Canadian values. Something I find terrible, though, is this is the Prime Minister of Denmark. Do you remember not long ago, the President of the United States was talking about annexing Greenland and how Greenland absolutely had to belong to the U.S. and then went on to talk about how NATO's never helped anybody in any way and that the US is pulling everybody's weight. But in fact, the only time Article 5 from NATO has ever been used was after America was attacked on 9/11. And all of the NATO countries stepped up and we carried our weight and we helped out. 159 Canadians died. And then we hear from Trump that, the allies stood back and weren't on the front lines, and they kind of did a little bit of an effort. How horrible! How horrible! The Danish also lost, per capita, I think, more than anybody else. Just terrible. And now that there's a war that's been started that nobody wanted, and in my humble opinion, I think President Trump's just been manipulated by Netanyahu. I mean, Netanyahu has tried to pull the same stunt with every previous president, saying, hey, we're going to attack, you better be with us. And Trump just fell for it, which is really, really worrisome. So now there's this war that the entire world is in that we never asked for, we were never consulted on, where now Trump is asking us to step up and send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. How did he not know that the Strait of Hormuz would be closed like this? This is just absolutely the worst planned special operation, whatever. Worst planned ever. It's terrible. Okay, let's go back to the Prime Minister of Denmark.
This, for all the help we have received in the Kingdom of Denmark, Greenland and Denmark, We have had a totally unacceptable pressure from US and the US president. It has been very difficult for the people in Greenland to experience this. And one of the reasons why we have been able to stand firmly on very common values, that you have to respect sovereign states, that you have to respect a people's right for self-determination, is because of our good friends in the Nordic countries in Europe, but also with partners outside, especially you, Mark. So we are deepening our cooperation in the Arctic region. It is important. We are deepening our cooperation also militarily in our own region, not only the Arctic, but also more locally in the northern part of Europe. It's going I think, in the right direction. But with everything going on now, with the war going on in Ukraine, US unfortunately lifting up sanctions on Russia, a war in Middle East, countries like ours have to stand together. We have to stick together and we have to work together. And that is what we have committed ourselves to do.
My question is on the war situation in Iran and the Middle East. I ask, it's in principle to all of you prime ministers. Have you discussed or reached a Nordic Canadian alignment regarding how to end this war? And what are your respective countries' analysis and contributions to such a solution? Or whose war is this really?
When Trump first decided to attack Iran, Iran, Persia's been around 7,000 years. I mean, this is not gonna stop Iran from being Iran. When Trump first attacked, Carney came out saying he was for it. I think he didn't have all the facts when he came forward and talked a little bit quickly. And he's come out and said that he was mistaken. Though I don't know if he directly said he's mistaken. Politicians don't often do that. But I think nobody's saying that Iran, are good guys. Iran is definitely, has been funding Hezbollah, working with Hamas, working with the Houthis. So, they haven't been doing great stuff. But to blatantly come out and attack them because somebody told you this will be done in 3 days, where have we heard that before? I mean, Russia thought that it would invade Ukraine and in 3 days they'd be done. This is just craziness, being so self-absorbed and so narcissistic that you think that you can do anything you want and get away with it. And I think he's been right for years and years. He could do anything he wants and gets away with it because there is no Congress, there's no rules, there's no accountability. So he believes that. And now he's putting that on the world stage. So we're all paying for it. How are your price of eggs? Let's go back to the prime ministers.
Well, I think we are not part of this war. We did not initiate it, but we are all affected by it. So I think there's a clear call here that international law must be respected. And it should be the responsibility of the concerned parties to find ways of ending the hostilities that now have great impact around the world. We are concerned to see that there is still an escalation. There are still worries about how the world economy will be affected by the energy situation around the Gulf. For our part, we will use any channel we have, any opportunity we have to urge the parties to find a way that will not escalate this war. I think that's what we can say. It is not our war. It seems to us that the plan for how it will develop is pretty unclear. And that's the danger with initiating wars, that they rarely follow a script.
Yes, and I have a question for Prime Minister.
So I think he's absolutely right. It's not our war. We didn't ask for it, but now it started. So we have to do something. Something has to be done. We can't just turn our back to it because, oil's going to be up to $200 a barrel in no time. So I think since the Trump administration has no way out of this war and has not planned for an exit strategy in any way, I think we have to come in now and help determine the exit strategy. And in my humble opinion, I think the exit strategy is going to be that Iran's going to feel even more emboldened and the US will have a hard time saving face. And, you know, I say it's the US. It's not the US. It's the current president. And if you voted for him, wow, I don't know how, I was going to say, I don't know how you voted for him, but, you know, the news we get up here in Canada is not the same as what you get in the US. So I can't pretend that I get the same kind of, I have to say propaganda, because we get propaganda up here. I can't say I'm getting the same kind of propaganda up here as you're getting in the US. So, you know, maybe it was easier to believe. And also he was spouting on about how, you know, he didn't want to get stuck in any more wars, and he was the non-war president, and he was going to resolve all these wars, and he wanted the Nobel Prize. And then he bullied a Nobel Prize winner into giving him the Nobel Prize. Oh my God, it's so ironic. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go on to the next question.
Mark Carney, but also for the four Nordic leaders of Denmark's neighbors. Here you are side by side talking about the importance of unity. If a country within the NATO alliance tries to take over Greenland, would Canada then be ready to contribute with military forces and actually put up military resistance to protect Greenland?
Well, the first thing I'd say, thank you for the question. We stand foursquare behind the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity. It is for the people of Greenland and Denmark to decide their futures. And first point, being absolutely clear about that, being clear that we will back that with measures as necessary as a partner, and being I think the fact that we and others have been clear, I don't want to put it on Canada, but European Union and others have been clear about these fundamental principles and the principle of solidarity has helped to create the space, which always should have been there, to be clear, to develop a better security umbrella in the Arctic, but also including Greenland. So we're clear on where we stand, and we will continue to stand with Denmark and Greenland.
We took for granted that the US were the good guys. We took for granted that we knew that the rule of law was a little bit bent from time to time with the CIA going into other countries and, you know, things like along those lines. But I mean, but we always took for granted that the US would not start threatening annexing other countries and taking over other countries. How did we get here? Here's the Prime Minister of Norway.
I'll finish with this fact, which is historically, when Canada has made defense procurement, 70 cents on the dollar, more than 70 cents on the dollar, has gone to the United States. Not just to American companies, but gone to the United States. That's not an effective way to build our industry or to protect our people. And so what we've been doing, we will still do a lot of procurement with the United States, to be absolutely clear, but in all cases looking to procure much more in partnership. And it's a much broader range of countries with whom we can partner. Last point, particularly given the maritime and Arctic nature of the security needs we have, plus the virtual, the Nordic countries are natural partners for Canada. Short answer.
You know what Prime Minister Carney says is really interesting. 70% or 75% of every dollar for military equipment is spent in the US. And now we're looking elsewhere, trying to hedge our bets. Because something that can happen also is, you know, let's say we go forward and buy a whole bunch of F-35s, but the United Arab Emirates says they want theirs first. Then we're in the back of the line. Whereas for, you know, if we talk about the sub, we're probably in the front of the line someplace. The same thing is true for submarines. The same thing is true for our tanks. Now we have German Leopards, if I'm not mistaken, which are, wow, just an amazing tank. And also, I hear recruiting is going really well as well. I'll give you some numbers in the next couple of videos. But first, I want to tell you, so I've been, the reason I've been away is because I got a new contract, which is great. I love the people I work with. I love the projects we're working on, but I'm just completely swamped. And I'm in full training mode and getting certifications and all kinds of other things. So I apologize. I haven't been around. I'm going to try to, in a minimum, put out these reaction videos and maybe a once weekly deep dive. But time is at a premium right now, especially at the beginning of a contract like this. I haven't even been checking comments. I feel horrible. I'm going to be diving into the comments probably after this video to kind of catch up. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to Ottawa with my wife to the Air and Space Museum, and I met the curator of the museum, Erin Gregory, which was fantastic. She had scheduled a half an hour with us, but of course, you know, I have a hard time not talking. So for an hour and a half, she was so generous with her time. And you could just imagine, I mean, an aircraft or an airplane buff like me talking to the curator. Oh my God, I had questions. So we're going to be interviewing her from time to time. If you have anything that you want me to ask Erin Gregory, please let me know. Any subjects you want me to cover, let me know as well. So I'm going to be back a little bit more often once things settle down. As you can tell, I haven't set up my summertime office yet because it's going to be 17 below tonight. That's really cold. So if you like this video, please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment, click on notifications. It's good to be back. Thanks for spending time with me. I'm your host for Canadian Shields. This is Pierre Shields. Go play outside.